And if you have a family member that is ill as Glenn and you're not getting the answers, I would definitely make every effort to get my family member to the Mayo Clinic.
Thank you.
So today, my husband came home and I saw changes in him that were beyond comprehension. He had a flat effect on his face and he psychologically looked like he checked out.
The next part was 2 days of intensive testing, and this is what sets the Mayo Clinic apart. The testing is done in a very compressed period of time, and the results are released very quickly. Quickly, yes, but not instantly, so day 3 was a day off. The results were to be given to us on day 4. So on day 4, we again had an appointment, this time with both doctors, Dr. Alfonso Lopez and Dr. Andrew McKeon. This time, the rubber hit the road as we were given the results. I'll let Dianne speak to that.
Dianna, before going to the Mayo Clinic, we knew that Glenn's neurological condition was very, very serious. That's why we went there. What is the diagnosis that we were hoping for?
Autoimmune encephalitis.
And what was it about autoimmune encephalitis that would have made it, as you called it, a
gift that was completely curable?
So did we hear autoimmune encephalitis?
No, we were devastated by the diagnosis of frontotemporal lobe dementia as well as Lewy body dementia. Yes.
Devastating.
Completely heartbroken.
So impressed with how you managed to set up this appointment at the Mayo Clinic within the space of 1 week. How did you do that?
There was a client of Glenn's, Dr. Brian Schumacher, who was instrumental in making everything come together very nicely for us. He had a colleague, Dr. Dennis Jewett, who was the head of neurology at the Mayo Clinic, who is now retired. Both of them I owe so much gratitude to for helping us get there and get the final diagnosis on Glenn.
Our 4 days at the Mayo Clinic, which was actually only 3, turned out to be a tremendous experience. What was your impression of it, Dianne?
I found the Mayo Clinic to be a very well-run organization. The workflow from the time of intake of a patient to the time of testing to the time of the results.
Dianna, Glenn got medical tests here in Rochester, Michigan, and he even went down to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor for medical tests. They didn't show the diagnosis we got at the Mayo Clinic. What tests did he not get locally nor at the University of Michigan?
On multiple occasions, I asked for a PET scan, which is a test that should be done on patients that exhibit neurological issues, and no one would do that test in this area. So that was the determining test for Glenn's diagnosis.
Dianna, we're taping in your kitchen. You're a master at cooking. I'm the beneficiary, and so is Glenn. It's been remarkable what you've done, especially considering how to your right you have this beautiful gas stove. Tell us about that stove for the last 4 months.
What I do understand about this disease is the patient or my husband doesn't understand what he is doing. This is all part of the dementia. And so to increase security in our home, everything is turned off. There is no gas on, there are no sharp knives. Anything that could cause him to hurt himself, we've removed from the home. And that is the biggest objective, taking care of Glenn at this phase. It has been 1 year since everything has transpired with him, and The disease is so incredibly progressive.
How has this changed your life?
Wow, that's a interesting question. I've had to grow up. Number one, I always relied on Glenn for so much. Being a CPA, he handled so much of our financial life. And even he was a minister in our church. We had a very close and deep spiritual life together. And the devastation of this has left me solo in doing all of the above. From meeting with attorneys, to reconstructing how our finances should go, to assist in doing the final close of his CPA firm, to having conversations with physicians that I never thought I would have to for end of life. The list goes on, and I feel stronger in all of it, and I'm still seeking advice from all of the right people. And if you ever get a diagnosis like this, it's mandatory that you sit down with somebody that does understand where you need to go forward. I also have a lot of gratitude for everybody in my life. My coworkers have been amazing. It's the network of friends, it's the prayers, it's the love, it's the people in our church that have called, sent cards.
Let's not forget a friend who has taken a very hands-on approach. It's nice to offer support, but there was one friend who has taken a hands-on approach. And who is that?
Yes, that would be a very close and dear friend of mine, Karen Kohler, who also has taken Glenn every single week with just the utmost energy and love and compassion. Another person that comes to the forefront that I feel strongly about recognizing here is my husband's cousin Dennis, who went beyond the call of duty to assist us in closing his CPA firm, as well as transferring files, making calls for communication with attorneys and clientele, as well as the new firm who purchased Glenn's CPA firm. Dennis spent endless hours and time and love and dedication, not only doing the work aspect, but also looking after Glenn. And I really feel strongly about this whole family structure. It's like number one in my life that we all stick together. He did, as well as my brother-in-law, my family, and my children. Speaking of family members, I would like to thank my sister-in-law, Barbara, who has sacrificed her man, who came to Michigan to help me for the last year. I am just moved at her kindness and loyalty to this family.
With this experience that we've gone through, what are the conclusions that you've drawn from this?
Number one conclusion in this whole entire nightmare of frontotemporal dementia and Lewy body dementia. Number one, start praying. Your faith will definitely increase. Number two, make sure that you get a private disability. Every couple should have private disability. This is something that my brother-in-law hammered Glenn and I for years, and we did it. Thank God that he informed us and that we actually listened to him. And number three, find yourself an excellent Alzheimer's dementia attorney, as in this Don Rosenberg, who was really instrumental in helping me through our personal financial as well as the legal aspect of everything that will transpire in your life, because there are so many legal matters that need to be taken care of if your partner ends up with this god-awful disease. And from there, you also need to make sure you educate yourself. Get a support group. Alzheimer's Association has Lewy body support groups, frontotemporal dementia support groups, as well as Alzheimer's support groups. After that, I would say that your friendship network, your loved ones, your family to relieve you is massive. You need that help. You cannot do this by yourself. You would make yourself very, very sick. So it's important that you take time and that you have a plan. I learned this on the fly. I learned this because I had a support group. I had a brother-in-law who was there with me to help me, as well as my church, and the Alzheimer's Association is a great resource. So go there, get online, do the homework, Google it, you will find it. It's available.
Yes, and the final conclusion is that our ride is far from being over, right?
Our ride it's long-term, it's difficult, it will be a challenge, and we're going to do it together, but I have someone to help me, and I'm grateful.
Yes. Thank you, Dianna.
Join me next Friday as I return to the series Detroit, America's Great Comeback City. I just want to say that just because you are subscribed to my channel does not mean you will get notifications. That's just YouTube policy. So check back next Friday and every Friday. Thank you.